Just got the mail.
The big envelope.
Oh, it's from the Canadian Paragliding Association. I think I know what this is. Welcome to the Canadian Sport Parachuting Association. Oh, my official card. After jumping all of those times and being terrified, I now have a card that will show that I am capable of jumping out of a plane. Like, I just do it on my own with this card.
What is the other side?
The other side is just probably for my signature or something like that. But this is the card that you need when we go to any other place that we might want to jump out of a plane in Canada. You bring this card with you and you use these numbers and it authorizes you to be able to go without an instructor. And this is what all of those jumps were the result of. This is what I was trying to achieve. This is the final certification official membership card in the Canadian Sport Parachuting Association. Finally got my card in the mail. That makes me an official solo skydiver. So exciting.
Woohoo! I imagine that there are some things that you need to have, not just this card, so you can jump, right?
It really depends on the actual drop zone. Some have specific rules around what level of certification you can use, but in general, this allows you to jump any place in Canada.
How did you describe skydiving?
Skydiving is almost indescribable, but for sure, it has its ups and downs. What, nothing? I've been waiting for 6 months to use that line. The way that I kind of handled it really came down to 3 things. So the first thing was my mind splits into 2. So I have my regular mind, I'm afraid of heights, claustrophobic, and then I have this other part of my brain that became the skydiving brain. That's the one that gets turned on when I get to the drop zone that tells me, you know what, I can do this. You really get to the door and you jump out and then you're committed by that point. So that's the hardest part of the whole thing, is just leaving the plane. So it's really not that difficult physically. It's really getting over that mental challenge. So having the ability to separate those 2 parts of my brain into the safety part, which I try to get rid of, into the skydiving part, which I find exhilarating, and as long as I can turn that part of it on, I feel like I can do it. The second thing is something that I do in all aspects of my life, especially when there's a really big challenge to overcome. And that is, instead of trying to address the entire challenge, it's to really break it up into smaller parts. I broke it up into, okay, I need to get ready and I need to get to altitude. That's one component. And I would say to myself on the way up, this is easy, this is easy. I'm pretty sure I can do this. This is actually pretty easy. And then the next thing I'm really focused on is, how do I get myself out the door? Which seems kind of crazy, but that's exactly the way that it worked. I get myself outside the plane, and then I think, okay, I'm outside the plane, now what am I going to do? I'm still not thinking about how I'm going to land. I'm thinking about what I need to do in the air under free fall, about pulling the parachute. Once I pull the parachute, that's the first time that I actually think about, okay, I'm not 100% sure where I'm meant to land. If I started to think about that either on the way up or as I'm about to leave the plane on the exit, I think I would just become way too overwhelmed. But if I broke it up into several small parts that I could just get to that point and then focus on the next part after that, I found that made a huge difference in my ability to be able to do this. The third thing, and probably by far the most important, is what I call my safety blankets. For me, that includes actually 2 things. My blue shoes. I jumped every single time with these blue shoes. You'll see them in all of the videos. These are not skydiving shoes. They just make me feel a little bit better and a little more confident. The second thing, you can't tell this from the videos, is that every jump I wear my Superman underwear. has no impact whatsoever on skydiving, but when I put these on, it makes me feel so much more confident for some reason. It's like my safety blanket.
Okay, but I imagine that is not everyone that can just put blue shoes and a Superman underwear and then become a skydiver, right?
I mean, we have to be a little bit realistic about this. Skydiving isn't necessarily accessible to everybody. There's only, in Canada, less than 2,800 people who are certified to skydive. It's an extreme sport by any stretch of the imagination. But I think it's cool that people maybe could follow along and watch how I went about it. There were times where I just made mistakes. The number of times that I reached back and got sideways trying to find the ripcord, the most important part of skydiving, I missed it. Time after time after time. There really is no do-overs in skydiving. You are falling and you learn it. 60 seconds of free fall at a time. There's no going back up and trying it again in the same jump. You have to make it to the ground, go back up and try it again. I made it! Woohoo! Maybe, you know, the few times that I landed really far away from the drop zone, or I didn't manage to land on my feet. That was my crash landing. Being claustrophobic inside the plane, or with the helmet and the goggles on. When I exited the plane and I started to tumble and I was like grabbing for pieces of something that weren't there, trying to find a foothold, something to hang on to. That may have caused some people to say, I don't know if I should go back up again. And the thought never really crossed my mind. It was more about, I know exactly why that happened, but I still continue on. I just want to get better every single time, and I want to fix all of the problems. Crash landed a little bit, but I can fix that on the next one. But that's kind of the way that I learned to do a lot of things. I'm so slow, but it's never really bothered me. As soon as I got to the ground, it's like, no, let me go back up again.
So what do you think that you should say for people that are at home watching your videos and having maybe the sensations?
You should take it for what it's worth. Skydiving solo may not be something that you're cut out for. Obviously in Canada, with only 2,800 people doing it out of 37 million, it's not for everybody. Maybe tandems are a little more accessible, but I wanted to inspire people to do something outside their comfort zone. If it's skydiving, like in the case of having my son do it with me, he wanted to do it. He was excited about doing it. Wasn't that much of a big deal for me to convince him.
Nice. That's a once in a lifetime experience.
The person that was by far the most adamant that they were never ever going to leave the ground was...
Yeah.
You. It was you. The first thing he said to me was, hey, that's great that you're going to do it, but there's absolutely no way I'm ever going to do this. I need my feet on the ground.
Yes, when you're saying for me for the first time that you are going to jump out of a plane, I thought it was a joke. And then he said, no, I'm going to do that 10 times in a row. Then I thought that it was a bigger joke. And finally it's covered that no, that was completely real, and I was there and I saw so many times he reaching the ground with no problem whatsoever, and I see all that tandem people like smoothly getting to the drop zone as birds. I thought, okay, it will be super weird if the only problem is with me, right? So yeah. I decided to give it a go.
So we went together. It was her first time skydiving.
Yeah, it was my first
tandem. And for me, it was my first time with my solo license, being officially authorized to go do that. We did it at a totally different place. And this is a little bit crazy because you're just getting comfortable with the drop zone that you're at. You're still very new at this. And now you're going to a totally different place, different procedures, different landing zone, different airplane. Everything is different, which most people actually don't do for their first solo skydive after they've achieved their license. It was the second location at Parachute Montreal on the South Shore. Another fabulous location. I really like that drop zone. It had some water features.
Yeah, actually for me this was a little bit of a problem because the other one was just with fields around. There was one road, but the road was not really close. The road literally defined what is the drop zone, and where is the place where you take the plane. It's really close, and there is rivers, there is a power plant close to there, and a forest, all the things around, and your first time jumping by yourself in a new location. So for me, okay, I have the guy that is controlling everything, I'm just there, but for him it would be the whole scene would be crazy.
Check out this experience of somebody's first tandem.
Yeah,
It was awesome.
it was awesome.
A little bit nervous?
Yeah, a lot.
How are you feeling? Good?
Not just a little bit. I'm just freaking out.
Okay, totally normal. Okay?
And I'm nervous too, so just for the record.
All right, you're all good, man, guys. Anything to say to those viewers before we go?
I hope I survive.
It's something that you never do in your life, and all the experiences are way too much. I also have the same how it's called?
Sensory overload.
And I just lost track of time. I just forgot. I don't know. You just don't see part of this. It's kind of weird because at some point you start to believe like a dream, and at some time you see, no, I'm really doing that. I'm crossing the sky really fast.
So in an earlier episode, I talked about one of my favorite books called Into the Wild. The main premise of that book is happiness is only real when shared. And skydiving is such a solo activity. You know, I've got a bit of a bigger personality. I kind of take up a lot of space, but in the sky, I took up no other space than just my body. You feel so small that when we jumped together, even though we weren't close, you could see me from far away.
Really far
But
away.
we did have that shared experience that we can talk about, but it also gave you a more unique perspective on the next level up, which is doing it by yourself with a parachute strapped to your own back.
Oh yeah, that's for sure, because when I was with the instructor, I was trusting on him for everything, and I was not really thinking in anything. What really helped me is just to blank my mind and just feel whatever I was feeling. But when you are by yourself, you have no one to talk with you, you have no one to help you if you need. You can scream, you can say whatever you want, no one will hear you, and you need to have step by step in your mind what you need to do next. Imagining like, oh no, now I need to check my altimeter. Now I need to reach back and I steer the parachute or whatever. It is a lot. At the same time, I imagine that is some sort of learning that you cannot have in another type of thing, because you start to be humble when you feel that you are not everything, that you're just this little part in the sky. When you try to control your mind and you see that your mind actually controls your body.
So I guess the big question is, can I convince you to take your solo certification course?
I don't know, tell me.
Tell me, what did you prefer?
What did I prefer?
Yeah.
Of everything.
Everything, the whole package.
The whole package when you open the parachute and the parachute worked.
Yeah,
So I bought this as a gift to myself for completing the course successfully. It's a skydiving helmet. I got it in lime green. You see it in the last video. It makes all the difference in the world because you don't feel any wind on your face.
Put it on, put it on, put it on.
This part always freaks me out a little bit because it's really not meant to come off, which is a good thing. First thing I realized after I put it on is it makes me hugely claustrophobic, so I actually had to wear it around the house for about a week before we did our final jump.
I remember that.
And now I have it figured out. And this is the way that it looks. You clip these things in, goes around your neck, and I leave this up until I'm about to leave the plane, just so that it's not down. And then when they open the door, time to go down.
Astronaut. Okay, but now you have another one here.
I've got something interesting.
Okay, show me.
I need this.
Okay.
Come. I've got a few other things I want to show you.
Okay, let's go.
Oh, I need these.
What? Oh, gloves.
Gloves. I need these. Oh, I need this.
Whoa, okay. What else?
And you know what? I need one of these.
Oh my God, baby, what is next?
One more thing. One more thing. Come.
Oh Lord.
Let me tell you about what's next.
Adventure.
This is what's next. Hi, I'm Rob, and I do stuff.